is this going to be a long one? And you look at how many cars are backed up. You know, if there's a lot of cars, I think it's probably near the end. And then one day I pulled up and I was the only one there, and I thought, and I like being up close because I like seeing the artwork on the train as it goes by. And I thought, oh, this is good. I'm going to get to enjoy this train all for myself. There are like 2 cars and gone. I thought, well, there you go. Let me mention too, while I've got everybody's attention wherever they may be this morning, I understand some people actually may be driving in a car right now watching this, which is not driving. Somebody else will be driving. Hopefully they're watching this. But wherever you are, I'm so grateful that you can join us on Facebook or YouTube to watch this. And mention too, for anybody that may not know, Tuesday evening Bible study. Show up. It's a very exciting time. I think we were like throwing chairs and tables around Tuesday night. It was that much fun. Very, very good time. But again, I invite you to turn to Matthew chapter 6. I'm at the very beginning where, of course, in the Sermon on the Mount, and remember when we started this, I suggested to you, if you really want to know the heart of Jesus, what is he all about? What is he calling us to be? What is it that makes Christianity a unique faith? This is, to me, where you find us. And if you've been following along, I'm hoping, especially if this is new to you, you're starting to paint a picture of who Jesus is that maybe you didn't have before. That he's going to become more and more clear as to why he came, why he said and did what he did, and what this means to be. But if you think about who Jesus is, if you were going to introduce him to somebody, to me, this is where I begin to paint that picture. This is a Sermon on the Mount. He's already said some things that were very challenging and very troubling to the people that heard it, because he really challenged the way things had always been done. He says in verse 1, beware of practicing your piety, that's your faith, your religion, before others in order to be seen by them. For then you have no reward from your Father in heaven. No reward from your Father in heaven. So whenever you give alms, do not sound a trumpet before you, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, so that they may be praised by others. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward. But when you give alms, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your alms may be done in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. When I was reading this past week, I got a great idea. You're going to love this. I know people have been doing their offering in the little box when you come in the front door, but with the pandemic going away, we're going to start having offering like normal, and as I pass it around, whenever I see somebody about to put something in the offering plate, and I'll let you pick the song, I'm going to play a trumpet when you put your money in. Wouldn't that be fun? Wouldn't that be fun? Whenever I see money going in, I'll play it again. Maybe I'll learn a tune for you. What do you think that would do to our offering? I see one thumbs up. Yes. People keep putting money in to get more music out of the monkey up there on the stage. My hunch is that some people might be thrilled, but probably a lot of people, maybe not so much. But stop and think about this. This was a normal thing. That when people went to practice their faith, I would like some music, please. I want something like a trumpet, because I want to make sure everybody can see and know that it is me, and I am doing my prayers, or I am doing my offering, or whatever it is I'm going to do. That was a thing. We wouldn't do things just to be noticed, would we? You know what happens to those people that just crave attention? They become preachers. Where can I find a job where people will just sit and listen to me go on and on? This had become a thing, which is really interesting to me, because as you know, for years and years, I taught psychology and counseling, and I talked a lot about fears and phobias. What is the number one, you hear me, I think I've mentioned this already, but what is the number one fear? I know what you're thinking, cicadas, right? No.
Speaking in public.
It turns out that public speaking and other forms of social phobias far away. People fear mice and snakes, but if you give people the chance of either public speaking or dying, most people will probably take dying over public speaking. And I totally get that, because when I was a child, I would literally freeze. I remember just freezing when I was in front of people and had to say something. You probably noticed I got over that. Shows you what you can accomplish if you stay focused. But people have this natural fear of public speaking, of having other people see me. That's the norm. How is it that there are these individuals that crave attention to the point where when they go to worship, it's a wonderful opportunity for other people to notice me? To the point where Jesus addresses this in the Sermon on the Mount. What happens when we have this most common of all phobias, but for some people, they take that and it becomes the guiding principle of their life? You know, if you're like me, you wake up in the morning and I go, "Dear Lord, please don't let me embarrass myself too much today. You know, I know I'm going to mess up, but just if you can do it so that there weren't a lot of people watching." Maybe they'll forget about it and they won't tell other people about it. But then there are some people, and I've got theories as to why it is, but they wake up every morning going, "Dear Lord, how can I get other people to notice me? How can I get the rest of the world to sit and listen to me speak or to watch me, whatever it is I happen to be doing?" I've got a hunch that most of the world is run by these people. My honest hunch is that when you think about the politicians around the world that climb the political ladder, what do they constantly do? The one thing that they have in common is, "Please look at me. Please look at me. Listen to me. I'm talking. Please listen." I think there's one person here that may not be totally focused on me. I mean, what would you do if every time I came here, I spent 10 minutes telling you about how wonderful I was? At some point, you're going to go, life is getting rough for our preacher. What in the world's wrong with this guy that he has to keep trying to convince us about how wonderful he is? But there are people that make an entire career out of telling people about how wonderful they are. I know it's been almost a week since I told you about how wonderful and amazing I am in whatever the thing might happen to be. So just make sure you don't forget. I want to tell you about it again. Now, for the vast majority of us, we go, "There's something wrong here. There's something wrong here. Something needs to be addressed." Yet, we live in a world where these people climb the ladders and end up with having an inordinate amount of influence and control. I remember what was the first reality TV show? Anybody remember?
Survivor.
Was it Survivor? And I remember flipping the channels and I saw that was coming on, and I thought, well, what in the world is this about? And it's ordinary people doing stuff. I'm thinking, people aren't going to watch this. And people did watch it. And I thought, people don't want to watch ordinary people doing ordinary things. But then there was another one, and then there was another one, and then there was another one. And now, it's like, odds are, if you turn on the TV, it's going to be reality stars doing something. And I remember thinking, who goes, I'm an ordinary person in an ordinary life. I bet there are millions of people that would like to watch me do whatever it is I do. Could it be that the timing of reality TV coincides with the development of this narcissism in our consciousness in this country. Reality TV stars. Yeah, I want people to watch me do good things, bad things, boring things, brilliant things, stupid things, or nothing. Maybe I'll just sit around and do nothing. And I'm going to count on people wanting to watch me. If I lived to be 1,000 years old, I would have never thought of that. Yet there are those individuals that believe the world exists to watch them. And if they're going to do anything for other people, it's going to help them watch them and to pay homage to everything that they say and everything that they do. You know, to me, one of the greatest joys of life is meeting with people that I know, being with my friends. I mean, isn't it the best? And then you get to, and especially if there's somebody you haven't seen in a while, and you haven't seen each other for a long time, and especially with a group of people, what do? You start telling what? And people go, well, how you doing? I said, well, I had this really interesting thing happen to me the other day. And so I tell my story, right? We tell our stories, right? And I tell my story, and when I finish my story, what happens? What happens when I finish it? There's going to be somebody that will what? Oh, you think that was a good story? Wait till I tell you what happened to me. Oh, you think that was a big cicada? Let me tell you about my cicada story. And if you've ever been in a place or been in a group and you know there's that one person, it doesn't matter what story is going to be told, they will top it. Every single time. I've been a couple times, when I get older and more crotchety than I'm going to do this. I'm going to tell my story, whatever it is. Oh, let me tell you about how my electricity went out. You think yours is bad. And then that person says, well, let me tell you what happened to me. I'm going to go, no, you don't get to tell your story. I get this one. I've got everybody's attention. They're showing me a little encouragement and support here. No, you can wait till yours another time. It's not a contest to see who can get the most attention. But we know that. We see people like this. Lord, could it be that if I wasn't fortunate to be a preacher, would I become one of those people? And would the desire to have people hear my stories? You know, we can laugh about it, we can kind of joke about it a little bit. But when I go to worship, when I go to do the things that God has called me to do, and my number one concern is how can I be noticed? Now, my very soul is in danger. And it's not just a funny thing or an irritating thing, but something that may place me in spiritual jeopardy. Again, you'll hear me say this regularly because the first time I heard it, I didn't believe it, and I kept thinking, something I really had to struggle with. Everything you do, you get something out of it. Every time you do something, every time you say something, every time I do or say something, I'm going to get something. And when I first heard that years ago, I thought, but there are times when I just want to do something nice for somebody else. Or I really want to help somebody else out. And I go, well, yes, and we should. And that's a good and wonderful thing. But even when I do something for someone else that is truly in need, and something that I should do for them, I am still getting something out of it. And I've always encouraged people when I was working as a counselor or as a teacher, I'd always say, try to figure out what that is. Well, why should I try to figure it out? Because it may control me. It may be that I'm getting something that I never even thought of recognizing. Why is it that I need to get that medal? Why is it that I need to get that recognition? Why is it that I have to get that diploma? Why is it that I need to do this or to do that? Well, because I could we would all think of examples. But what else? What are the reasons? What else am I getting out of doing this? And it may be one of the most profound discoveries of your life when you realize, you know what? I did this for that reason. I want to give myself credit that it accomplished some nice things, but you know what? I'm beginning to recognize other things that are maybe influencing or even controlling my life and my relationship with God. How many of us have ever received a Christmas present with no name on it, other than yours as the recipient? Can I see hands? How many? It was years ago. I remember the first time I received a present and there was no name on it. And I thought, well, this is strange. There was a present that didn't have there was my name on the front and from so-and-so. And then I found out, I heard some people talking, and there was this family, and they had this tradition that every Christmas, everybody was to give a present to somebody in the family, out of family, didn't matter, but they had to give a Christmas present to somebody anonymously, in a way that there's no way they could find out where it came from. And when I first heard that, I thought, wow, what a strange idea. It never occurred to me. Why would I give a present without putting my name on it? Because don't I want to be recognized? Could it be that I need to be recognized? And then since then, on occasion, I've given Christmas presents without putting my name on it. I remember I was at church once and there was a family I knew that did that every year. And then I'm thinking, well, if I get a present and there's no name on it, I know where to start looking. But then I started thinking, could it be that the norm should be that I'm doing my level best to do something to make your life more wonderful and that I receive nothing? Would you be willing to sacrifice your reputation for the betterment of someone else? Why do we do these things for attention? Could it be that it affects our relationship with God more than we ever realized? And then, of course, there's Jesus. And he walked around healing people of the most horrible ailments. He raised people from the dead, and every time he did, he looked at those people that were standing around and saw the miracle, and he said, what? Remember? We're going to see this in Bible study. And it for many people, continues to be a mystery that he'd do the most amazing and wonderful thing, and he would look at everybody and he would say, don't tell anybody what you just saw. And as a child, I thought, okay, I officially don't get it. You came to heal and to bring people from the dead, and you don't want us to talk about it. I could not be more confused. What are we supposed to be doing with this? Maybe he was showing something more profound than I was able to see then, and maybe even some days now. To have the kind of relationship with God where one of my important concerns is that I don't let this go to my head. That the biggest concern, the biggest danger of any spiritual accomplishment is that it goes from here to here. Jesus said, don't tell anybody. Who's going to reward me? If I get a reward from other people, that's all I'm ever going to get. But if I do it in the quiet of my own heart, who's the only one left? Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for this challenge. And for those of us that make a living by being noticed, it may be a little more frightening than I'm willing to admit. But I pray that you would help us this week to think about what Jesus said and what this means to us today in how we do church, how we do fellowshipping, how we do all the things that we do in your name. And I pray that we'll understand it more than we ever did before, because Jesus showed us how. Amen. Let's close our service by taking